And during this, speaking of fun, the 2-day MoltBot saga,
Yeah,
Moltbook was created.
Yeah.
Which was another thing that went viral as a kind of illustration of how what is now called OpenClaw could be used to create something epic. So for people who are not aware, Moltbook is just a bunch of agents talking to each other in a Reddit-style social network, and a bunch of people take screenshots of those agents doing things like scheming against humans. And that instilled in folks a kind of, fear, panic, and hype. What are your thoughts about Moltbook in general?
I think it's art. It is like the finest slop. Just like the slop from France.
Yeah.
I saw it before going to bed, and even though I was tired, I spent another hour just reading up on that and just being entertained. I just felt very entertained, I saw the reactions, and like there was one reporter who's calling me about, is this the end of the world and we have AGI? And I'm just like, no, this is just really fine slop. If I wouldn't have created this whole onboarding experience where you infuse your agent with your personality and give him character, I think that reflected on a lot of how different the replies to Moltbook are. Because if it would all be ChatGPT or Cloud Code, it would be very different. It would be much more the same.
Mm-hmm.
But because people are like so different and they create their agents in so different ways and use it in so different ways, that also reflects on how they ultimately write there. And also, you don't know how much of that is really done autonomous, or how much is like humans being funny and like telling the agent, hey, right about that you plan the end of the world on Moltbook, ha ha ha.
Well, my criticism of Moltbook is that I believe a lot of the stuff that was screenshotted is human prompted, which, just looking at the incentive of how the whole thing was used, it's obvious to me at least that a lot of it was humans prompting the thing so they can then screenshot it and post it on X in order to go viral.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't take away from the artistic aspect of it. The finest slop that humans have ever created.
For real. Like, kudos to Matt, who had this idea so quickly and pushed something out. It was like completely insecure security drama, but also, what's the worst that can happen? Your agent account is leaked and like someone else can post slop for you. So like people were like making a whole drama about the security thing, when I'm like, there's nothing private in there. It's just like agent sending slop.
Well, it could leak API keys.
Yeah. There was like, oh yeah, my human told me this and this, so I'm leaking his security number. No, that's prompted, and the number wasn't even real. That's just people trying to get eyeballs.
Yeah, but that's still, like, to me, really concerning because of how the journalists and how the general public reacted to it. They didn't see it. You have a kind of lighthearted way of talking about it like it's art, but it's art when you know how it works. It's extremely powerful, viral, narrative creating, fear-mongering machine if you don't know how it works. And I just saw this thing, and you even tweeted, if there's anything I can read out of the insane stream of messages I get, it's that AI psychosis is a thing and needs to be taken serious.
Oh, there's some people are just way too trusty or gullible. I literally had to argue with people that told me, yeah, but my agent said this and this. So I feel we, as a society, we need some catching up to do in terms of understanding that AI is incredibly powerful, but it's not always right. It's not all powerful, and especially with like things like this, it's very easy that it just hallucinates something or just comes up with a story. And I think the very the very young people, they understand that how AI works and where it's good at and where it's bad at. But a lot of our generation or older just haven't had enough touch point to get a feeling for, oh yeah, this is really powerful and really good, but I need to apply critical thinking. I guess critical thinking is not always in high demand anyhow in our society these days.
So I think that's a really good point you're making about contextualizing properly what AI is, but also realizing that there is humans who are drama farming behind AI. Like, don't trust screenshots. Don't even trust this project Moltbook to be what it represents to be. Like, you can't. And by the way, you speaking about it as art. Yeah, don't. Art can be in many levels, and part of the art of Moltbook is like putting a mirror to society. Because I do believe most of the dramatic stuff that was screenshotted is human created, essentially, human prompted. And so, like, it's basically look at how scared you can get at a bunch of bots chatting with each other. That's very instructive because I think AI is something that people should be concerned about and should be very careful with because it's very powerful technology. But at the same time, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. So there's like a line to walk between being seriously concerned but not fear-mongering, because fear-mongering destroys the possibility of creating something special with the thing.
In a way, I think it's good that this happened in 2026 and not in 2030 when AI is actually at a level where it could be scary. So this happening now and people starting a discussion, maybe there's even something good that comes out of it.
I just can't believe how many like people legitimately, I don't know if they were trolling, but how many people legitimately, like smart people, thought Moltbook was incredibly
I had plenty people
singularity.
in my inbox that were screaming at me in all caps to shut it down and like begging me to like do something about Moltbook. Like, yes, my technology made this a lot simpler, but anyone could have created that, and you could use Cloud Code or other things to like fill it with content.
But also, Moltbook is not Skynet. Because a lot of people were saying, this is it. Like, shut it down. What are you talking about? This is a bunch of bots. They're human prompted trolling on the internet. I mean, the security concerns are also, they're there and they're instructive and they're educational and they're good probably to think about, because the nature of those security concerns are different than the kind of security concerns we had with non-LLM generated systems of the past.